You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. Too often people say, well, you do things that are getting what's out there, people doing bad things. And certainly that gets a lot of reaction. People are into it. But we're going to focus on our segment tonight on something good, something positive, something that's challenging. And our guest tonight is Lily Brasch, a young, inspiring Jewish Orthodox woman in Chicago with a rare form of muscular dystrophy and was once predicted to never walk again, has been training to climb Camel Back Mountain in Arizona in March of this year. Her message of overcoming disabilities is an inspiring message for all of our listeners. Her mom was converted by the late Rabbi Schusterman of Chicago Chabad. She attended Chabad schools. She attended day schools, and she's overcome this adversary to climb the mountain. So, Lily, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Zev, so much for having me. It's really an honor.
Now, I understand you were born with muscular dystrophy, but you weren't diagnosed till you were around 16 years of age. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I was diagnosed at age 16.
But you had the symptoms all along, so you felt different. It was a challenge growing up, was it not?
Yes, I was born when it was very difficult for me to breathe, as I'm told. I was told I wouldn't live past a week initially, and then eventually, once I lived past a week, I was told at age 4 I would not make it past age 4. That's what my parents were told. Um,
Did you know that at that time, or just your parents knew it?
my parents were told that, and as a little girl, maybe age 4 and 5, I knew I had a disease. I knew I had challenges, um, and I was aware. Yes.
So it must have been difficult growing up, going to school with these challenges. How did you deal with it? I admire you for what you did, and we'll get to what you're doing now is even greater. But how did you cope with it? How did you deal with it growing up?
Growing up was a challenge to deal with it, mostly mentally. As a little girl, I'll share a quick story. I remember story time in kindergarten, and we'd all gather around and sit um, on the carpet to listen to our teachers share a story. And I remember at that age, always I was scared. I felt scared to sit on the carpet because I knew getting up would be a struggle. I knew people would look and they would see that I'm different. I'd have to push up on my knee. Um, since then, I've learned to be grateful for what I can do, but at that age, it was
How
difficult
did how'd you do it?
to
How'd
learn.
you get the courage to do it? Yes.
Well, at age 12, 14, 12 to 14, I started getting progressively weaker for a little bit of time. Thank God right now I'm stable, but at that time, and I remember one day I went to get up and I was, again, as I always had, I was hiding. I didn't want anyone to see me get up the way I got up, which was pushing on my knee or using a table. And I couldn't even do that. I remember this moment. I was at Jewish sleepaway camp, and I went to go push up on my knee in private when no one was looking, and I couldn't. I couldn't even do that. So I started finding different ways, and that was using a table or a chair. But from that moment, I understood that as a child, being able to use my leg was a blessing that I should have never taken for granted. And from that day on, I will not take the strength that I do have for granted.
Now, how important was your family, the strong support for them, your religion, your Orthodox Jewish faith? How did that also help you in this situation?
Yeah, the values I was brought up with and the religion and faith are were essential to my growth and my appreciation for life and my belief in a greater power and my belief that everything happens for a reason. God has a plan for us. I was brought up with an incredible community of Jewish teachers, Jewish friends, Jewish family members who always were there to remind me of my purpose, my worth, and my faith.
And at what point did you say, okay, not only am I going to live my life, but I'm going to aspire to reach greater heights, which you're trying to do right now by climbing the mountain, so to speak. So what was the progression? When did you say I'm going to do it? And how did you, and you're planning to do that in a few months. So what's your goal? What's your plan to get there?
hmm Yeah, so I mentioned I had a difficult childhood mentally, and then into my teen years, and I'm sure we all struggle with, finding our purpose, finding our identity. Um, and I think it was high school. My grades were starting to. I wasn't doing so well in school, and I felt very bad about it. I couldn't get into basically any college at the time, and it was mostly because I had been so sick I couldn't attend school. So this year I struggled a lot with my purpose, a lot with why am I here? Why am I even, alive in their dark thoughts? But I had my brother, I had the Torah's guidance, and I understood that my purpose is beyond me. It's for others. I live and I challenge myself to break through my barriers so that others will be encouraged to break through theirs. My purpose is to leave the greatest impact I can on this world. And that's when I decided that I will start breaking through my barriers.
And you formed the Born to Prove Foundation. You're a film producer, motivational speaker, fitness competitor, exercise enthusiast. You're 22 years age. You seem to accomplish quite a bit. Tell us about the foundation.
The Born to Prove Foundation, I founded it and I started it with my father, my greatest supporter. I went to him one day. I said to him, maybe 2 years ago, I said, I don't want to be pitied anymore. If my purpose is to live for others, to inspire others, to unite the world, how can I do that when people are feeling bad for me? And so I started off posting about my struggles, and I felt I was getting a lot of pity. I went to my dad. I said, I don't want pity anymore. And he said to me, Lily, by the end of this year, you will meet some of the most inspirational people in the world, and you will inspire others. Together, we brought in color, we brought in music, we brought in inspirational people who have overcome their barriers. We brought in makeup, hair, clothing, and all the fun things so that we can create videos and interview people from around the world who have overcome their own barriers and hope to encourage others to do the same.
Now you're planning on doing that requires, if you're going to video people and film them and edit and do all this kind of work, it requires a nice sum of money. How are you raising it?
So together we're building. Right now we're working on the next event, which is the My Everest event, the mountain climb, and we're getting influencers from around the world to join our climb, and we're getting donations and sponsors with the understanding that a large percent of the proceeds will be going to help muscular dystrophy research and children who need the help.
Now it's amazing what you're doing. So tell us about your climbing, your training to climb Camel Back Mountain, Arizona. What does that encompass? How you going about doing it, considering you're a college student and you're involved with these other activities as well. So walk us through that, please.
Um, yeah, it's been a lot of fun training for it. My 12-year-old self would have never believed I would be training 3 times a week. Well, actually 5 times a week, 3 times physical, 5 times mental coaching. But I'm climbing stairs in preparation. I'm lifting weights consistently with a trainer. I'm going on a practice climb outside to a smaller mountain to test it. And while doing that physical training, I'm training my mind to have more control of my thoughts. So the second I have a negative thought telling me, whether it's a thought of fear, anxiety, or uncertainty, I've been taught to interdict that thought, redirect it, and then maintain a more positive thought. So the second I hear someone say to me a thought of doubt, like, Lily, how are you going to climb a mountain? You have muscular dystrophy. I can't afford to listen to that thought. I interdict it and I redirect to a more positive thought. I'm going to win in my mind before I actually win physically. So in my mind, I've already climbed the whole mountain. I know what it feels like, and I know how it's going to affect those watching me.
Now, very impressive. Now, you mentioned that you do 5 training sessions a week, 3 physical and 2 mental. I assume the 2 mental is to condition your mind to think positive. So how do you do that? Because it's nice in theory, but it takes a lot of work and effort. So I'm curious to know, how does it work? Because you're doing positive thinking. Positive thinking can also help you in so many different ways, including physically. So I'd like to see how is it done? What are you doing in those 2 sessions a week?
I love that question because I just was talking to my coach about this, and actually I'm working with a phenomenal man. He's accomplished incredible things. His name is Tom Jones, and he is training to run 74 or 5 marathons in a row. But I was just talking to him about this, and most of my life I grew up just telling myself, you need to be positive. But like you said, it's not that easy. It takes practice, training, consistency, and acknowledging and witnessing your negative thoughts first so that you can conquer them. But it takes consistency.
No, I admire you for doing that because it's not easy. But if you're able to control your thoughts and your mind, you can do a lot that can help you literally climb the mountain. Because even with the muscular dystrophy, the mind is still a most powerful tool that the body has, at least in my opinion.
For sure. And we all have a choice, for sure, what approach we take, what perspective we take. And 100% I agree with you. Our mind is the greatest. Also, yeah.
And what's amazing, Lily, is what you're doing is you want to inspire other people who are in similar situations not to despair, not to give up hope, because if they put their mind to it, they literally can climb any mountain.
Yes, that is what drives me. That is my purpose. It's not enough to do it for myself. There are days where I don't want to be as vulnerable. I don't want to see people. I don't want people to see me falling or me failing. It's not enough to drive for myself. It's to inspire others that they have the strength within them.
But even if you fall or you're able to get up again, that to me is also very important. So
Mm.
um, your mindset is to be positive, even when things going downhill or where it's hard to get up for a moment. But if you push yourself, you keep going. So that to me is the biggest victory.
Right? Yeah. Thank you. And yes, our goal is to, for our my efforts, we want to accumulate over 8 million uh, viewers through all the influencers. I hope we can reach.
How many viewers have you had so far?
We are on a goal to achieve 8.
Oh, you
Uh,
want to achieve 8 million viewers to
wrap
your
all, wrap all the influencers involved. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. And may God give you the strength to continue. I admire what you're doing. And not only do you want to do it for yourself, you want to inspire other people in similar situations to accomplish what you've accomplished. And just amazing. You have a loving family, a loving Jewish day school system. You have your faith, your belief in God, which is also helpful. And I think what you're doing with the mind. What advice do you have to parents out there that are listening that may have children with disabilities or even people with disabilities themselves? What advice do you give them?
Um, that question gave me chills. I get emotional when it comes to children, and those living with disabilities. So thank you for that question. I've never been asked that. But my number one advice from a child who grew up with a disability would be please, please don't ever tell your child they cannot do something. Ever. If you believe, if you believe, if you're scared or worried about them, then you need to conquer that fear on your own, because telling a child they can't do something can change their world. And telling a child that they can do something can change the world of millions. So please, don't ever tell your child they can't do something.
And I think the other message is that don't listen to the doctors when they said, God forbid, that you wouldn't survive past the age of 4. Thank God the doctors were wrong, and you never give up hope.
Right, never give up hope, and just yeah.
Amazing. Lily, I want to commend you. Lily Brasch, you are a hero for what you're doing, what you've accomplished, but the best is yet to come, because not only will you climb the mountain with God's help, you're going to inspire other people to climb the mountain too. So this is an exciting event. What happens after you climb the mountain? What's your next step?
My next step, what happens after the mountain? I'd like to. I wanna. I have big dreams. I want to, first of all, climb another mountain, a bigger mountain. Maybe take some people with me who didn't believe in their goals, and help them to see that they can achieve it as well. Um, I want to meet an astronaut. I want to meet the president, because I feel these platforms are powerful. Um, and on top of that, I'd love to meet um, and have her join our mission, Gal Gadot, one of the Jewish inspirations to me as Wonder Woman. I'm inspired by her story. I'm inspired by the power she gives to women. And I think she's a Jewish figure too, to be proud of. And I think that her joining our mission would be powerful.
Well, I think it's all possible. Maybe you should have once a year a muscular dystrophy climb the mountain day.
Wow, that is something I would love to do. And
I
get
think once you climb the mountain and you've done it, you can inspire other people to do it. Maybe that's something to look forward to. Maybe that should be televised, filmed, broadcast on the internet, on TV, other platforms, sort of almost like an Olympics for muscular dystrophy people to climb the mountain. Everybody who climbs is a winner.
that is a wonderful vision to look forward to. Wow. Mhm.
So, Lily Brasch, I want to thank you for being with us. I wish you lots of luck. Let's keep in touch. We certainly want to hear about you climbing the mountain and beyond. If people want to learn more about your foundation, which is Born to Prove Foundation, how can they do so?
You can visit borntoprove.com for the website, Lily Brasch for the Instagram, and please look. We have 2 documentaries that I feel will inspire individuals around the world to hurdle through their barriers, coming out this year.
Now, when you say you're also a film producer, I said earlier, motivational speaker, fitness competitor, exercise enthusiast. Now, you've written scripts, you've produced. How did you learn that? Because that's something which I assume you haven't gone to film school.
Mm-hmm. I am working with a um, film writer and screenwriter and producer. We're working together. I've been filming my entire journey for the last 2 years, 1 year, and we've written the Die Strong treatment and the My Everest treatment.
Wonderful, wonderful. Listen, God should give you the strength to continue. I'm looking to see you climb many mountains, many barriers, and instead of meeting the president, maybe one day you'll be president.
What? Wow!
If not here, then in Israel. But
Right.
listen, continued success. We're all inspired. We'll feel so happy for you that you were able to accomplish this. And as I said, the best is yet to come. So, Lily Brasch, thank you for all that you're doing and for not giving up. Never give up. Being a Jew, by the way, is never giving up, because what you embody is a Jewish experience. Always when things look bleak, Jews don't give up. And salvation is on hand. So
Mhm.
keep that going.
Right. The Jewish community is wonderful, and I want to thank you very much again for having me. It's an honor, and we all are inspirations. We can achieve whatever we put our mind to. And thank you again, Zev.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
For continuous Jewish programs, talklinenetwork.com or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the talklinenetwork.com.